So on the brief, it talks about things being A4. So just quickly, if I go in and make a page, and I'm just going to make an A4 page. So I've got the dimensions here, like 210 by 297 millimeters. The pixels per inch, the first thing you've got to get used to is there's kind of standards. So whenever you look at something on screen, on a computer screen, I know Retina displays kind of changed that a wee bit, but in general, web design, you work with pixels per inch, but you work with 72. Then if you're doing offset printing, so if you're getting something professionally printed, you work with about 300, 350. For me, if I want to get something that's good enough to print out of a printer, then usually I go for about 200. Between 150, 250 is pretty good for a color printer. So that's what we're going to go for. So I'm going to put in 200 for the pixels per inch. Okay, and that gives me my A4 page that I'm going to work with. The reason to do this right at the beginning is important is because quite often what happens is that this sort of stuff happens. I'll just show you. I'll just jump to. So I do an image search. Generally what happens is people will just grab whatever image they like the look of. If I go to tools, size, and I go to large, I'll find now if I click on this image that you'll see when I run over here, it gives me a number. So if it's up in the thousands, I know it's going to be a decent sized image. So if I grab this one, and I can see I can click on the plus. So it looks huge on the screen, but remember the resolution is 72. And so when it gets put into Photoshop, if the resolution goes up, so it will go from 72 up to 200, the physical size goes down. So if I grab this, I'll just make a new folder. So I've got that one. Okay, so if I go back here and I'm going to purposely put it on medium. That's quite a big image too. Okay, so this one's a little bit better. You'll be able to see the difference anyway. With this image, it says 675. So I'll open that. And I'll save it, right? So if I jump into Photoshop, okay, you can see Photoshop?
Yep.
Yeah, cool, thank you. Okay, so I'll bring those images up. So this is our bigger image. I'll drag that one across, and you can see the size that it comes out on an A4 page. Okay, and it's this sort of thing here. So this image was about 600 and something. So just grabbing images off the net, as soon as you have to put it on something that is where the resolution changes, like we've got at 200, and 200 is not high. So if it was up at 300, if we were using it for something that we wanted to get printed, those images would become even smaller and practically unusable. So you have things like compression quality, JPEG, and whether it's a TIFF or whether it's a PNG, all those sorts of things. But the most important one at the moment is realizing that it has to be a big image. Otherwise, you'll find a great image, you'll bring it into Photoshop, and it'll come out small. And the one general rule for Photoshop is that when you're scaling images, you always want a big image that you can scale down. If you're going to scale something up, you shouldn't scale it up more than 10%. And essentially what it is the admittedly Photoshop does a pretty good job, but it will do something that they call interpolation. And if we have a look at this, everything starts to blur and fuzz out. And it's essentially the image doesn't have the information there. And as you scale it, the computer just tries to make up what it thinks should be there. And I suppose as AI and things like that get better, it'll start to change. But at this point in time, scaling up in a large way is really problematic. Now, I know I've done it quite a bit with some of the stuff we've gone through, and it's because we've been doing stuff that's more graphic. So if we take a paintbrush stroke up or a graphite drawing, it's already kind of abstracted in a fashion, or we're using it for a texture. And so it becomes a lot less problematic. So that's the first thing, especially with this assignment for PPR. If you're grabbing images off the net, maps or location photos or anything like that, always make sure that you're going through that process of changing it to a large image for a start. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.